So welcome back to our discussions on the financing decisions. To recap what we have discussed, that a company can finance its assets through debt or through equity, and in the equity we saw it can be through the money contributed by the shareholder or the money retained by the business, the profits which are not distributed among the shareholder. And we also saw that most of the IT companies have a high equity and a very low debt, or in other words, very low debt equity ratio. Is it the case with other sectors? Maybe a question that should come to our mind. Now let me pick up some other sectors. For example, FMCG sector like Hindustan Lever or Britannia or Colgate. Even these companies, all these companies have a debt equity ratio of less than 1. Even energy companies which are highly capital intensive, you can see that companies like NTPC, NHPC have a debt equity ratio of less than 1. An exception in the energy sector is Power Grid Corporation, where the debt equity ratio is greater than 1. So that means it is not just confined to the IT companies that we have a low debt equity ratio or a high financing by the equity. It's possible that most of these companies are making profits, so therefore they're retaining profit even after distributing dividend. Or in other words, that in India most of the good companies are financing their business through the profits, or the profits is fueling the growth of the industry. But let us pick up two specific companies in non-IT sector and see what is actually their financing. Let me pick up National Aluminium, that is NALCO, and Tata Steel. These are interesting because both belong to a manufacturing company. One is a public sector and other is a private sector, but both are listed companies. Interestingly, National Aluminium Company, 79% of the total sources or total assets are financed by shareholders' fund, whereas Tata Steel, only 43% is being financed by the shareholders' fund. So where is the balance coming from Tata Steel? The balance for Tata Steel is coming from the long-term sources and the current liabilities, whereas National Aluminium is a zero debt company. They don't have any long-term debts. They have current liabilities which account for about 21%. So even though these two companies are in the same sector, same manufacturing, though they are listed, they're relatively larger companies and listed, the financing structure of these two companies are not same. It's true that both of them have a low debt equity, but the financing decisions are not same. So 79% in case of NALCO funded by shareholders fund, whereas 43% is funded by shareholders fund in case of Tata Steel. Is it possible that Tata Steel is giving more dividend than NALCO because it's a private sector, or any other reason that it is depending on the long-term debts, or is it possible that Tata Steel is using the leverage better than the National Aluminium, which is a public sector, is worth investigating. But I think we will get into the other issues related to finance, that what's happening to this particularly an important item called current liabilities, because we saw that in case of National Aluminium, 21% of the total sources are current liability, whereas Tata Steel is only 17%. Maybe in our next discussion we will try to understand that what is the role of the current liabilities, or in other words, the short-term sources in financing the business. So the next session will get into the current liabilities and working capital. Thank you very much.